Instead, we have the opportunity to make a habit of empathy, to recognize ourselves in each other.
Your creed for politics is, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
You said your mother used to say to you...
She taught me empathy, the basic concept of standing in somebody else's shoes and looking through their eyes. And she, you know, if I did something messed up, she'd just say, how would that make you feel if somebody did that to you? Mm-hmm. And that ends up being, I think, at the center of my politics. And I think that should be the center of all our politics. If we see a child who's languishing in an inner city school, how would we feel if that was our child? Mm-hmm. If we see a grandparent who doesn't have their prescription drugs, you know,
how would that make you feel?
How would that make you feel
not to be able to have
not to be able to
drugs to better your health?
Exactly. And I think that if that's the central focus of our politics, as opposed to it being about power or, you know, how can I get
but
more.
It's hard. You also say in the book Audacity Hope, you also say that it's hard to keep that for a lot of politicians because you're flying in the private jets.
You know, I started realizing that when you get in the habit of taking corporate jets and you're eating dinner with lobbyists and that you start getting detached from the people that you represent. And one of the things that I'm always worried about is starting to represent Washington to my constituents instead of representing my constituents in Washington. After I instituted that ban on corporate planes, I remember taking commercial, and it was this classic, terrible ride. Trip out to O'Hare was bad, and you're in the traffic jam. You get there, kids spilled orange juice on my shoes, all that stuff. But as I was finally getting on the plane had been delayed. I was grumpy. I'm about to get on, and this young man comes up to me and he says, "You're Senator Obama?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I just want you to know that I'm 32, 33. I've got a 3-year-old son, and I've got Parkinson's disease. And although it's not bad yet, they expect that I'll probably never be able to throw a baseball with my son. And so I really want you to work on stem cell research because it may not help me, but it might help somebody else to make sure that they're not going through what I'm going through." And, it was just a small moment, but it reminded me of why I got into politics and why you want to make sure that you are always there, present. That's why we
happen on a private jet.
And that doesn't happen on a private jet. We reward people a lot for being rich or being famous or being cute or being thin. And one of the values that I think we need to instill in our country, in our children, is the sense: are you useful? Are you useful to other people? Are you making other people's lives a little bit better?
That's really good.
And that's something that, when we have the discussion about what values we want to lift up, that, I think, is a value that we don't spend enough time talking to our children about. How can you be useful to somebody else instead of just sitting there playing PlayStation all day?
We'll be right back.
See the world through other people's eyes. Empathy is a quality of character that can change the world.